Hi, I'm Bruce Arnold. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about my new course, Approach Notes. This is a pretty big course. I've been working on this for a couple of years, and it's really the first one of its kind that really covers all the different ways that you can use approaches. If you surf around the internet, you'll find, a little bit here, a little bit there about approach notes. Some of it, not so good, some of it good. But when you really want to know everything about approach notes and all the different ways it can be used, this course is really where you need to go to. Also, if you're going to practice it, it's one thing to just show you some technique that you can get with approach notes, but another thing is to actually, okay, how do I practice this? How do I get this together on my instrument so I can just freely improvise using approach notes? And that's what this course is about. It gives you hundreds, if not thousands, of PDFs to show you different possible ways that you can organize this. I have the ways that I went through it, but there's other ways that you can do it, and I present those in the course. Now, there's many ways you can use approach notes, and I'd just like to go through just a few of them. This would be a pretty long video if I tried to go through all the different ways that they're used in the course. But let's just check out a few things. One thing that is the most common way that approaches are used is into chord tones on beats 1 and 3. And that's really like the bread and butter of playing over changes. Some people call it the bebop or jazz phrasing. And that's something that I cover a lot in this course. And let's just take a listen to that and so you can hear what that sounds like. Flat 7. There's the root. There's the root of that chord. There's the fifth. 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 Third. Third. So as you can see, it sounds very nice. All the chord tones there with approaches half step below. Now you could also be double timing this, so let me just play a little of that. Alright, so that's soloing with approach notes on beats 1 and 3. A very common technique, a hard technique to get together because for most people they've just been playing scales mostly, and now you're required to put chord tones on beats 1 and 3, which now means there's a time factor there. So that's probably the technique that will take the longest to get together. But it's well worth it. Once you get that together, you'll be eating changes for breakfast. Believe me, no chord changes will give you a problem after getting through this. The next thing let's look at is approaching scales. Now that's an easier technique because there's no time involved in it. You can start playing a scale any place and start putting approaches into it. So let's take a listen to that. The scale. Going down a scale. There's some ideas, double time. So using approaches with scales is a very cool technique. I use it a lot. You can use it over a single chord or over a whole chord progression. There's many more advanced techniques that you can use with approach notes too. One that I like a lot is approaching the chord tones of, let's say, the dominant chord over a tonality. So let's say you had C minor, now you're going to be approaching notes of G7. Very useful and actually very common. You'll hear many improvisers doing that. So let's take a listen to that. That's just G7. Yeah, G7 again. I'll do D flat. D flat again. A lot of times you got to put some sort of tag at the end here to make them make sense. Another technique you can do is approaching a superimposed chord. And literally it could be any chord, but you know, there are certain chords that are going to sound better than others. In this example, I'm going to be superimposing a D flat major arpeggio and approaches into those chord tones over a C minor 7. So take a listen to that. Notice I'm always doing some approach to come back into C. Now let me do a few double time things. Now of course there's approaching approaches, which could also be an approach approaching an approach. Really that particular technique with approach notes is teaching you how to play chromatically, which I think is super cool because there's no other real way to teach that. But with approach notes, every approach that you do, one resolves into the other. So if you string a bunch of them together, you can get a very chromatic sounding line. Let's take a listen to that. All right, C minor 7, I'm just going to start approaching approaches. I'm actually going to start on the major third. Notice how I, you know, resolve into a chord tone because it's very chromatic, so you want to kind of bring the listener's ear back into the key. I'll start by approaching the 7th. Alright, something that's moving up. So when you're playing them in normal time, they start to sound a little funny, but if you start double timing them, they're very cool. So those are just a few of the different techniques that are found in the approach note course. It goes on and on. And, you know, if you're a beginning player, you have something to start with. If you're a more advanced player, believe me, there's some super hip stuff in here to use for improvising. So get started with this today. I think it's, you know, it's a long process, so don't think you're going to, like, you know, master approach notes in 2 weeks. You know, this can take years if you really want to get it together. But no matter what your level, you're going to find this is going to take some time. But it's well worth it because you're going to have a lot of cool new ideas that you can use when you improvise. I think for me, the main thing was that after going through approaches, I wasn't afraid anymore of chord changes. It could be in any key, it didn't matter. If you do the techniques and exercises that I give you in this course, believe me, your ability to play over changes will be unbelievable. And of course, if you're a more advanced student looking for some cool new ideas, this course is jam-packed with them. So that's covered in this course too. So let's get started today, and let's change your playing so you have lots of approach notes in it.